Howdy, folks. Welcome back to another week of Deck Check. It's me, your bald gnome with the dome. I was gonna say something else, and of course our Benny Bear, our blue. Oh, jeez. I can do this. Give me a moment. Our blue bludgeoner. There we go. Yeah, because he's gonna beat your head in with his good looks. Welcome back though to another week. This week we're gonna be going over all of just mostly JP lists. With 2.5 on the horizon for us over here on the English side of the card game, we thought it would be smart to kind of start talking about some of the decks that are gonna be relevant come that whole set dropping for us. So we're going over some BT20 deck lists that are from JP that we found on Card Meta, and we saw a couple of these lists on Twitter as well. But before we jump into the meat and potatoes of everything here, if you're watching this video as a member before it comes out to the public, thank you so much for being a member. We appreciate you. You're a beautiful human, and to people who are watching in public, you are also a beautiful human, and we still appreciate you. Don't worry. And if you want to get access to this content early to get a bit of an inside look and some of our thoughts as to all the stuff that kind of we're going over and stuff that's coming over our way from sets on the horizon, you should become a member and join into that. And if you don't want to become a member and you're new here, just in general, consider hitting that subscribe button, sticking around, like the video if you enjoy it. And I think that's me done yapping. So, Ben, I'm going to leave it to you.
Sure. So the first list that we have here is from Molly. Over in JP, this was at a Tamer battle in Japan. Like I said, got first place, and this is Deep Savers, which is something that I've been messing around with and have a lot of fun with. Um, I do think it evolves a little bit where it becomes a little bit more centric on not necessarily like focusing all on deep savers, because Gigaseedramon is a really, really good top end that we're gonna get in 2.5. But it's not necessarily, or it's not necessary. It isn't a DS trait. So you do kind of, I think, warp your deck a little bit to get maybe a little bit more consistency there, which is why I think we're running maybe this Dracomon that lets you search Dramon and name.
I was gonna say I don't think they call this Deep Savers. I think this is just Gigaseedra. I think it's just Seedramon .deck.
Sure.
Basically.
Or like Fish. Let's just say Fish.dek.
Yeah.
So I do like Gigaseedramon a lot. Being able to give a blue top end a little bit more of that like control aspect, as well as like De-Digivolve, is really, really good. And on top of that, De-Digivolve 2, check +1, reboot blocker, like it's just insane with how often Fish and how easily Fish is able to spit out bodies. The new Mega Seedramon X antibody as well, giving yourself like the ability to take away an opponent's level 4 lower Digimon and just get rid of it, is also really good. Being able to unredirect itself is now something that we're seeing a lot more in blue, which I think is really neat as a blue player. For those of you playing against blue, maybe not so neat. And I think another recurring theme that we'll see in future decks in general, speaking of really strong top ends for blue, is Omnimon X Antibody, right? This Frenchman over here is
Monster.
Yeah, I mean, raid, piercing, blocker, end of turn rush, attack without suspending, board removal. It does everything that you could ask for and more. And I think it's going to be a very splashable top end in pretty much every single blue deck that you can imagine, as well as red deck if you can splash them in there.
Yeah.
So definitely definitely a card to watch out for. The promo Yaos and the BT19 Yaos, I think, are interesting. I think Deep Savers, I don't think you ran them just because they didn't really add a whole lot.
No.
But now that you're becoming more of like a generalized fish deck, you do see the reemergence of Yao. So I definitely think a really good tamer for what this deck wants to do with sort of recurring your bodies that get spit out to extend your combo plays and do things. We see the return of Protoform as well to kind of pair with the Gigaseedramon. And I also see the resurgence of the promo Seedramon. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping all around here.
No, you're fine.
But the promo Seedramon, you didn't really see it in Deep Savers as well, again, because it's not DS and trait and didn't really sync with the archetype. Now that we're kind of moving towards a more generic aquatic fish type build, it's a really, really good card,
Yeah.
Can be deleted in battle, syncs very well with what Deep Savers wanted to do, but the inheritable is really what it's there for. when you play another Digimon by effect, one of your blue Digimon gains rush for the turn. Really adds to the aggression that you get with this deck, and I think really kind of kicks it into top gear. So I'm really excited to test around with it. And I think it should be really fun.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see just Metal Seedramon just have its own deck now.
Hmm.
As it's like, I've said before, it's one of my favorite Digimon, so I'm very excited to actually jump back into blue with this. Probably, I need to get
Yeah,
Metal
and
Seedra
I
Ultrix.
think it's also nice to see a blue deck. I mean, granted, this is still a very blue deck, right? With like unsuspends and like memory sort of shenanigans, but it's nice to kind of see a blue deck that's not Mirage or
Yeah.
Imperial. That's
Mhm.
actually like somewhat meta relevant, you know?
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, and for that reference too, yeah, like there was another Giga Seedra deck that topped as well, and I've seen a few other lists on Twitter that were different from these ones. So
Sure.
it's doing things. It's making moves, which is
Yeah.
cool. We're all
Yeah.
for it.
For sure.
Moving on. Next, we have the big Lance Dragon himself in Examon. This deck is from Gaku over in JP. Got a first place at an Evo Cup over there. Just to start things off, we're running 4 of the new Babidomon from BT20, which is just really good draw power for the deck. The Dracomon from EX3 is a good card. The Promo Draco is pretty good. It's only down to a 1 of. I don't know if the ST9 or ST8 Dracos are actually ST8 Dracos. I don't know, because I know sometimes card meta can have incorrect card images for certain things. But if it is, it's it's a decent searcher.
It's
It looks
a
for
searcher,
Dramon,
yeah.
so it's fine. And then 4 of the new Dracomon, which I think is kind of needed in the deck. It's at least our old our EX3 Cordras can Evo over something with Examon and text, right?
Mm-hmm.
But or if name contains Dracomon, sorry, if name contains Dracomon. But it's weird that they went red with it. But we get to a little bit of why. I think they wanted to just try and make things not too super cohesive. Because I think if it was just blue green still, it maybe would be able to run away a little bit too freely with certain things.
Sure.
So, anyways, for our new lineups for the 4s, we're running the new Cordramons, the blue, and the new Cordramon green, that have jamming and raid respectively.
Raid. Yeah.
The Cordramon blue they both have the same effect of your turn when any of your green Digimon with Dracomon or Examon in the text are played. This Digimon may digivolve into a Wingdramon in the hand or a Groundramon, respectively, with the cost reduced by 2. So it's kind of meant to help you just climb your line really quickly. Exa, this is the only top I've seen so far. I've seen some other lists that got top 3, top 4, but nothing I had a chance to save.
Sure.
But it's cool. It's nice to see Exa doing some stuff again. I know we were all kind of expecting Examonic to anybody. I think a lot of us were sort of thinking that we were going to get that card. We didn't. We just got a new Examon, which I'll go over in a moment. But it's cool to see Exa kind of back in the mix of things because it's a really cool deck. It was very it had its heyday. It had a time where it was kind of a bit of a boogeyman. It wasn't super consistent, and so having just more pieces that just have a bit more control is really cool. New Wingdramon, just Sec +1 inheritable, can clear Flowgate rookies in level 4s and acts as a DNA target as well. Groundramon has the same thing where he acts as a DNA target, and it can also just suspend a Digimon or a Tamer and then keep them locked down. Or keep one that's already suspended locked down, which is pretty nice. And then also Trash and Security inheritable, which is good. The new Slayer-Dramon and Break-Dramon, I think, are really good cards. We also see Medieval Gallant spliced in here as well.
Sure.
But Slayer draws, Piercing, on play when Digivolving, trash any 3 Digivolution cards of one of your opponent's Digimon, then delete one of the Digimon with no Digivolution cards. And then alters once per turn when your opponent's security stack is removed from one of your Digimon with Dracomon or Examon and its text may unsuspend. So it just really good aggression, really good. Source stripping is still pretty powerful, even though it usually the decks that are supported by its effects don't always do the best. It's still a very powerful effect to kind of be able to get rid of sources and be able to target any 3 you want is really good.
Right.
Also, it gives you the ability. It gives you super evade as well as an inherit, which is really nice. Yeah, it's insane. And then Breakdramon also suspends 2 Digimon or Tamers, and then you can attack. Or one of your Digimon may attack.
Speaking of keywords galore, I mean...
yeah, you get all of the keywords. And then whenever your Digimon with Dracomon or Examon attacks, delete your opponent's Digimon in battle, delete one of their suspended Digimon or Tamers. So Tamer control is really, really big. Examon getting access to that is huge.
Hmm.
And then the inherits when any of your Digimon with Dracomon or Examon in the text, delete your opponent's Digimon in battle, delete one of their suspended Digimon or Tamers, which is just having more Tamer control and inherits is really nice. We see some pretty standard, like, Davis has always been just like the GOAT for this deck because he's just an extra
Yeah,
searcher.
yeah.
Jade Memory Boost is in there just for a little bit extra search of memory. Ice Wall is a really good floodgate option and just good way of keeping yourself alive. We're still sitting on 4 of the Examon. I don't think that's going to change. I think we probably stick to using 4 of the old Secret Exa because it's just a really good card. And the
Hmm.
Examon Ace, while it's a good card, is definitely more of like a choice thing. It's definitely like something that you just sort of have in your back pocket if you're not able to climb into your regular Exa. Or if you're wanting to
Right.
bait out an Ace Evo. Um,
Yeah, totally.
I
Because I mean,
mean,
the old Exa lets you play out essentially a Slayer or a Breakthrough, right?
yeah, yeah,
So you could just bait the ace right there, and then you have
right.
a good strong body out on board that does a lot, and then you have that baited ace play potential.
And so it's cool because you set up both, which is
Hmm.
insane that it sets itself up to have like 2 Examon on board. Um,
Yeah.
and also just like the control you get off of this spitting out your Breakthroughs or Slayer Drills as well. And then Examon Ace himself, I mean, he is keyword galore with with raid piercing, blocker, and evade. When digivolving, if DNA, return all of your opponent's Digimon with the highest DP bottom of deck. Really powerful. And then when any Digimon suspend, this Digimon may unsuspend. So it's cool. It's cool to see Exa doing things again. We're still running some old EX3 pieces in there as well, of course, like the Green Cordra, Wingdra, Groundra,
Yeah.
and the Slayerdra as well. But I'm excited to see what Arby does because Arby was our local Examon boogeyman, and I know he's looking
Uh,
forward to the deck, so
I'm
it'll be
scared.
cool.
I'm also very excited for Wingdra
Yeah,
as a card.
yeah. Wingdra's gonna be good for your Galaxy shenanigans.
Hmm.
You are emotionally hurting me, but I still love you. All right, we'll move on. We move on.
Next
All
deck
you.
that we've got is Royal Knights with a little bit of a special flair here. We've got Kuroari from JP also placing first place at a Tamer battle. So with as we talked about earlier, right? Omnimon X, you've got the new Cool Boy as well as the new Omekamon. We've seen a lot of folks really buy into the Royal Knights hype. And I think for good reason, right? We've talked a little bit about what Omni X can do, which is completely crazy. The new Omekamon pairs really, really well with that. Just to highlight it really quickly, it's a blocker inherently on play if you have one or fewer security cards. You can go ahead and digivolve into an Omni X antibody in the hand, ignoring requirements and without paying the cost, which is absolutely filthy, considering what Omni X can do.
Yeah.
And then on deletion, you can place this card as the bottom Digivolution card of King Drazzle, which when you pair that with Drazzle, when your security stack is removed from by suspending this Digimon, you can play an Omekamon from this Digimon's Digivolution cards without paying the cost. So really, really good, both I think aggression and defensive tool for Royal Knights, and gives them a little bit more of that flexibility in terms of gameplay and like win con, right? And then the Cool Boy Tamer is really nice too because it essentially just helps with memory efficiency and draw power. As Royal Knights, you're pretty much slamming down Royal Knight bodies in general, right? So whenever you play that out, Cool Boy just lets you play it for a little bit more of an efficient cost and helps you just cycle your hand a little bit more, which is always nice for consistency and getting your plays going as a Royal Knights player. Um, and then when any of your Digimon with the Royal Knight traits would leave the battle area, which was a huge sort of boon or thorn in the Royal Knight side, was that if you just kind of bounced bodies or got rid of them, they couldn't
Yeah.
tuck them under Drazzle. Now Cool Boy says, okay, fine, you do that, but now I'm gonna tuck an Omekamon underneath potentially, which, as we just talked about, can be game changing in the right scenario. So really, really cool support pieces coming for Royal Knights, which honestly has made me want to mess around with it and maybe get into it. But I've talked about the pieces enough. Going back to the list itself, I wouldn't call it the most traditional Royal Knights list.
Yeah.
I think the standard stuff that we see here is obviously Drazzle. We see Blanc for draw power and some like cycle. The Magnamon is always a goaded turn one play, being able to just like draw one, have a blocker out on board ready to go, and then you can just, you know, get a cheap play out there. The rest of the list gets a little wonky. You're because you're really only running four or three, even three level 6 Royal Knights, and then you're running the Alphamon Ace, which is interesting, but makes sense to a degree. So, I mean, you're only running the Alphamon, the Gallimon X, and the Medieval Gallant, and that's 6 total. So you're not even running a lot of them. A lot of else of what you're running is just consistency and like Fire Rocket, which I think can definitely catch people off guard.
Hmm.
Giving Omni X potentially like check +1 raid swing without suspending is crazy.
Yeah.
And same thing with your Gallant X too, right? Like if Gallant X just checks, it does its thing and can pop bodies, restand, check multiple checks too. So it can do a lot of weird things. Granted, I'm not sure if Gallant X will really swing with Rush a lot of the time.
I think the
but
idea, I think the idea here is because can you pop? You can't pop Drazel.
Well, I guess it would
It's on the
really
deck,
just be
right?
with Medieval Gallant, but you're only running one of Medieval Gallant, which is interesting, right? Because you do have Vortex.
Yeah, well, you
But
can't.
even
You
then, you
can't
can't even swing at
Evo.
the player,
You
so
can't
it's
Evo
it's
Gallant
really
X over
weird.
Medieval Gallant. I think the
No,
idea.
right.
I think the idea with part of it, at least, I can't speak for the Gallant X, unless they're giving it Rush with Omni, because you gain Rush and attack without suspending. But I know like
Right.
one of the plays I saw, at least using actual Omnimon, was when they cleared their board, and I'm guessing what this guy's doing is he's probably putting down Omni X, going ahead and playing Fire Rocket. And then doing the end of turn chip, and then using Alphamon Ace or you can Ace's effect of when security cards removed to gain 3 memory after they pass turn to gain memory back off of the Omni X, chipping security for 2 checks, and then swinging another 2 checks.
Yeah.
Is my guess,
Makes sense. Yeah.
or something
So,
like that.
yeah, I mean, I'm very curious to see how this list would actually operate like in gameplay, because I mean, you're not running a lot of Digimon, which I mean, Royal Knights you typically want, and you're not even running any of the old like Secret Omni, right? Which is like sort of like it, quote unquote, the like Royal Knight staple, right?
Yeah.
You're really just running sort of this hodgepodge of like tamers and options cards, which is really interesting. We will probably highlight a Royal Knights list that's a little bit more standard in the future, just because as part of our like future feature stuff, we'll definitely touch upon it, because I definitely think it's a deck that'll do very well next meta. But we wanted to at least get this out here because it's really spicy, really interesting, and really cool to see, and obviously highlights a lot of the new Royal Knight stuff too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, or you can Ace is gonna be so good for Royal Knights, just because it's a 9-drop. Being able to just minus 15k on something is gonna be huge.
Yeah, and whenever they remove security,
So the end of their
gain 3
turn
memory.
too, so it passes through any temporary DP buffs and protections.
Yeah,
So good.
can be huge.
Yeah.
Alrighty, all you,
Alright.
Chief.
Moving on to the last deck. Red Purple Imperial, baby. Shout outs to BB Dudes. Our goat. Our Red Purple Imperial goat. So this is Owl's deck. Who got first place at TCSCL over in JP. There's a lot of standard like stuff. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. I just want to talk about the new stuff mostly. But we see a lot of the standard stuff that Red Purple Imperials has been doing. This new VMon I think is actually pretty goated, because you can, in conjunction, like with Wormmon and its effects, you can basically pay 2 to Evo like into your 4s, like total. Like Evo for 1 off a Worm and Evo for 1 off a V. So you can, like, for example, have the Vmon on board, push up the Vmon, Dike can play Worm, Wormmon play Evo for 1 into something, and then Vmon sees it played, and it does its Digivolve or whatever, so then it Digivolves as well for 1. So it's just a really quick way to climb your line very quickly. The new XV and Stingmon level 4s are honestly really good. Outside of gaining the memory that regular Imperial does, these cards are goated. Being able to pop a 3 KLS or pop a level 3 or lower is really nice. And then DNA off their effects is huge. Of course, BT16 Dino B is a phenomenal card. Being able to spit out your pale, a Paledra or a Dino B as well to let you DNA. It's really nice, and it also it threatens double Ace as well, because both you can have Paledra and Dino B on board. You can just have 2 level 5s on board that are both threatening an Ace play. The new Paildra and the new Dino Bee are really, really good cards. Just on play for the turn, when a Digimon gains piercing and +4 KDP, then this Digimon may attack off the Paildra with a Sec +1 inheritable, and then all turns when any of your Paildramon or Dino Beemon would be deleted, 2 of your Digimon may Dina Digivolve into Imperialdramon Dragon Mode in the hand. And then Dino Bee lets you return something with Imperialdramon in its name or the free trait from your trash to the hand, so you can kind of make sure you have that ace play or make sure you have that 5 you're missing for the ace. And then when any of your Dino Beemon or Paildramon would be returned to hands or decks, 2 of your Digimon may DNA into a Dragon Mode in the hand. So you can kind of set up which level 5 you want on board depending on what the deck you're playing against. Right? Like if they're a deletion heavy deck or a bounce heavy deck, you can kind of set up for that to punish. And then of course the inheritable of just not checking security effects on option cards is huge. We see 2 of the old EX3 Dragon Mode, 2 of the BT16 Fighter Ace, which I think is interesting. But it makes sense. It just looks for Dragon Mode to Evo over. So you can very easily just, set that up to go over the Dragon Mode Ace or the EX3.
Our local RP player too, Steven, right? Like he's used this in some of his match play videos too, where we've had him on cam where like you just Fighter Ace, which is a really good play too.
The new Fighter Mode is a great card. It's so good. Having Raid and Piercing, 13 KDP base, like we've seen, pretty typical of Fighter Modes. And then when Digivolving, your opponent can't play Digimon or Tamers by effects until the end of their turn, which is huge. And then if Imperialdramon Dragon Mode is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, trash your opponent's top security card. Just super easy to accomplish with this deck, I would say, usually. The other crazy thing, too, is this also, stops scrambles as well. If you clear your opponent's board, they can't scramble or anything. It kind of counters Gallant, where they can't, use their Growl X effect of the on-deletion to play a Geel or anything. It's really, really nice. And then all turns once per turn, when your opponent's security stack is removed from, delete one of the Digimon with as much or less DP as this Digimon. So it's even more removal and continuous removal past that, as long as you're able to keep just checking security. Which is good. And then we have the new Dragon Mode Ace, which is a pretty good card. Can blast DNA from a Dino Bee and a Paildra. Or just DNA from a purple level 5 and a red level 5 in general, which it'll be interesting to see if people try and goof and gab with this in other red-purple decks. But please don't. Fenry won't do it, right? They won't do that to us. There's no reason to.
Now that you spoke it into existence, I'm sure somebody out there is gonna do it.
I'm too scarred, bro. I'm too scarred. Anyways, on play when Digivolving, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 11,000 DP or less. Then if DNA Digivolving, this Digimon may Digivolve into a Fighter Mode in the hand or trash without paying the cost, which is nice. It's good that you can set up your trash as a second hand, as per usual. Purple.
Doing purple things.
We see an Omni 8 or a Blitz Omni in there just as a finisher. Bleh, if you need it. Calling is a good card. Memory boost. Really neat is to see this battle NPC card. I've actually had a lot of ideas with this battle NPC card for other decks that don't have a traditional tamer for their archetype or anything, because it's just generically a good tamer. If you have 2 or less memory, set it to 3, and then on play, by placing 1 level 3 Digimon card from your hand under this tamer, you draw 1. And then start of your main phase, if you don't have a Digimon, by playing 1 play cost 3 or lower Digimon card from under this tamer without paying the cost, delete this tamer. So you can kind of just it's almost like another scramble in a way. You kind of stock up a card just kind of ready to go. I think it'll be actually really good with Justy. Maybe I'm crazy, but I see potential for Justy because you can play this out, go up a line potentially, and go into Justy X with Rush and do goofy things.
Sure.
But I think it'll be good for cards that have Rush access. Basically, I think it'll have good access for that.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, the new option, the Emperor Dragon of Calamity, which is 3 cost to use. Main, you may play 1 free trade Digimon card from your trash with the play cost reduced by 5. Then place the card in the battle area, which that's pretty insane. Being able to you can just drop a level 5 off of this for what, 6? Usually, yeah, 6. And then when your opponent's security stack is removed from delay, you may play 1 Imperialdramon Dragon Mode from any of your Imperialdramon Fighter Modes Digivolution cards without paying the cost, which is also really good. Just being able to wide board your level 6s to go into other Fighter Modes or set up the Fighter Mode Ace. Won't have that many sources, but you can do it. And then security just lets you play a level 3 Digimon card with a free trait from your hand to trash without paying the cost, and you add the card to your hand. So overall, a lot of really good tools for Red Purple Imperial. Sorry, I said I wasn't going to go very long into that, but I ended up going very long into that. But a lot of new stuff to talk about, right? A lot of new
Oh,
cards,
totally.
a lot
Yeah.
of really cool
Yeah, yeah,
stuff
yeah.
on its way. I'm super excited for what's going on with 2.5 and like what's going to be coming our way. You know, we just had the Chronicle video, or Chronicle versus Cross versus Chronicle video go up, which I know you've been dabbling with new cross pieces. I've already been reformatting my
I've
Chronicle
already
list.
made like 3 different changes and 3 different lists. I've been like talking to people.
Yeah. I'm really excited for Excel. That's one thing I'm really excited for.
Which you will be seeing go live on Monday.
Yes.
For those of you,
Yes.
yeah, just and everybody. Next Monday is when our next 2.5 video will go out.
You guys will see some more new stuff.
But before we wrap up this video, one last thing to kind of wrap up, I guess, this list is Omnimon, Blitz Omnimon. We kind of touched upon that briefly. But I was actually talking with Charles, local player, also like the gentleman who won like the last 3 Alti Cups before Nats before the season wrapped up.
Oh wow.
We were just talking about how like Omni, I feel like could make like this particular Blitz Omni when you pair this with the new Omni X. I'm wondering if we're gonna start seeing more and more blue and red decks try to sprinkle it in just because it pairs really well with it, right? If you have an X antibody underneath going into an Omni X, you can do a lot of crazy things with that too. Get a lot of value out of it as well. So I'm curious to see if that's gonna make a comeback. Because we saw a lot of it back in like BT9, right? Like Melga, Wargrey, like they all ran this guy because you could just straight up go Blitz Omni, swing, have X antibody go into another like the old Omni X where you just like board wiped and like took out security.
Yeah.
I mean, this new Omni X, you swing and then you can again swing again without suspending, can lead to some crazy shenanigans too.
Yeah. Assuming
So,
you keep turn
we'll
off
see.
of the swing, because you
Right.
you
Right.
can't like swing while you're attacking already. But yeah.
Right.
But
So
yeah, for sure.
it could be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a good card. It's just generically a good card. I think it'll always have some place. It just needs the right meta to shine.
Hi, your local judge here
yeah.
to interrupt.
Oh no!
Sure.
About to strike me down.
So, fun fact about that. Blitz Omni or Omni's Blitz is a 1 digivolving effect. You're not an end of turn yet.
Right.
So you declare the attack, you go through the attack process, then you hit end of turn.
So you finish the attack and then
Yes. Because you don't hit end of turn until everything's done.
So it's even crazier, is what you're saying.
Because you
I
can swing
see.
again.
So you tuck the X antibody under it, Evo into this, Blitz, do the checks, then. But I guess you Evo. Okay, I see. So you Evo before you do the checks into the new Omni X, finish the attack, and then end of turn effect of the Omni X to attack again without suspending.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Haha.
This game,
Yep,
bro.
that's what
People
we're.
just-
That's
they're
what I
just
was getting
making up-
at. Yeah.
I got you. They're just making up rules. They're just making up rules all the time. This is crazy. All right.
But hey, we get there.
I don't
Yeah,
trust.
I'll let
I
you
don't
wrap
trust
this up.
these judges. All right.
Before we get too crazy with this.
All right, we're gonna head out. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed these lists. Like Ben said, look forward to more of our 2.5 match play that's coming out. It's as we're kind of trickling it in, leading up to the actual release of it before we're full on into that set with all the craziness that it will bring. And then after that, we're on to our unification, our unification set.
True.
All of us being on the same number. So, yeah. That's gonna be it for us. Ben, you wanna do the thing? Say the thing.
Yeah, well, I'll say one more thing before I say the thing is let us know if there's any other decks that you want us to kind of look at and break down too.
True.
Just because there's a lot out there. We probably won't be able to cover everything, but if there's something in particular you guys want to see, like for example Excel or whatever, right? That's like a new archetype, something you're interested in. Let us know. We'll try and find one and highlight it for you guys. As the weeks get closer to 2.5, I'm going to try to also do like a regular stream, whether it be on like Twitch, YouTube, whatever, right? I'll probably hit up Discord first, kind of see what people want to do, whether it's like DCGO, deck crafting, kind of just like talking about random stuff. We'll see. I do want to make it a regular thing, so we'll try to make that happen for you guys. So if there's any suggestions there, also let me know. But yeah, the thing is, we'll catch you on that flippy flip. Bye-bye.